Welcome back, Doug Pagitt Radio. We end the hour with a conversation that we call Right On. These are times where we describe things in the world that are the way they're supposed to be, because there's some times that make us say, the world's not the way it should be.
Nope, it's not.
And then there are little flashes. There are little moments. There are these breakthroughs. There are these what are referred to in Celtic spirituality. Celtic would be the Irish in the 300s, 500s, 700s.
My people.
As the thin spaces, spaces where it shines through. Yeah. It's times when things are the way they're supposed to be, and we like to call those the right-ons. So we like to give a right-on to people who are doing the good, right thing.
Yes.
People who are joining together and saying there's something that we ought to do. And this week there were a number of conversations we could have had. There were the religious people who got together to say to Congress, in the strongest of terms, by writing a statement, that we think that you should not cut the budget. The religious people got together and signed a statement. Hundreds of them, yea, thousands of them, joined together, uniting to protect the poor in the federal budget. We could have given it to them, but you know what? They always do that, right? Every time there's a budget that comes up, religious people get together and they remind us, as they should be reminding us, it's a good thing that budgets are moral documents. It's a nice phrase. Budgets are moral documents. So they're not going to get the right on, even though they were in the runner-up. Even though they were the runner-ups for the right on. They were a right on runner-up.
They're the right maybe.
They were. They were. Yeah, I don't know what you are when you're almost the right on. What could that possibly be? When
you're the right mediocre.
You're the yeah, nice try. No, it was so it's a nice effort, but it's not what they get. Here's who I want to give it to, because I haven't had a chance to reflect with you on my experience in Guatemala.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. We have the opportunity to go and run into other people doing the same things. We're not the only ones doing this, but who get to know people in other countries who are living under the effects of deep poverty.
Sure.
Now, I know that while I was gone, you all were making fun of me on there. Something about that I was running some import-export business out of Guatemala, or that I was doing some sort of shenanigans, or that I was selling houses for, my own benefit. But it wasn't that way. And here's who the right on goes to. Not to those of us who go down there to give, but to the families who would receive it.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the deal. In Guatemala, where we go, and we're on a village, in villages along the lake of San Juan in La Laguna region, in the Solala region of Guatemala, for those who know this area. Now, it is stunning. It is a stunningly beautiful place.
Yeah.
The people are gorgeous. The surroundings of a volcanic lake with 3 volcanoes around it, and it really is picturesque. Yeah. But the people who live in these villages are the Mayans. They're the indigenous people.
Sure.
And much like people would know the indigenous folks in the United States, they have the indigenous people, the same peoples, actually, all the way down from North America through Mexico and into what we call Central America. So there were people, 3,000, 5,000 years ago living in all these places. And they were all the indigenous people, the Indians, as we would now refer to them, the Mayans. And so these people would still speak, only 15% of the population of the village we were in speak Spanish. Now, I said that to a friend of mine the other day, and he said, well, how'd the rest of them learn English? No, they don't speak English either. Only 15% speak Spanish. The others speak Zutihil, which is the Mayan language.
Sure.
It's a tonal language. It's crazy. I mean, it feels like when are we? You're not so bothered where you are in the world. It's when you are in the world and what you're in. So it's a preserved language. It's fantastic. You just feel like it is 5,000 years ago. And you're in this place. Well, these people, these poor indigenous Mayans, have been put down from the time that their lands were conquered by the Spanish missionaries. Right? So when the Spaniards came in, they took over. They renamed the towns. They brought in a new language. They introduced a new religion. They brought a new culture. They did all of that. And they subjugated the indigenous people to be poor workers. Just like they did in the United States. Like Christopher Columbus was a Spaniard, and they're doing this all over the world at the same time. So in Guatemala, what you have is these indigenous people who have been oppressed for 500 years by powerful people from other countries. So to those people who then are willing to let people from North America come down and share with them in their misery, to allow us to hold their babies, to kiss their sweet little faces, to build them a house, to give them gifts.
Yeah.
Right on to them. Right on to the people who didn't hold against the rest of us what they probably had a right to.
Sure.
Their languages are going to disappear. They have been put down. The CIA from this country went through these very villages in the 1980s and killed men because they thought they were part of the guerrilla efforts to bring communism into Central America. They have every right by normal standards to be like, you know what? Don't you come down here being Johnny Feelgood about it.
Yeah, we've had enough.
And none of them brought it up. Like, there is nowhere in the history of Americans with indigenous people where we didn't treat them badly. And these people don't hold it against you. So they get the right on. Not those of us who went down to do the good thing. Not those of us who said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring $1,000, $1,500 to build a house for these families. So we're building them houses that are 10 foot by 14 feet wide.
Yeah.
Concrete houses. And you know why they're so thrilled about them? Here's what becomes clear to me every time we go on this trip. When you live in a adobe thatch house, it's always dirty. And you know what dirt tends to carry? Bacterium. So when you put a concrete floor and concrete walls, and as they said to us every time, now our house can be clean and our children won't be sick.
Ugh.
They don't have to let us do that. They don't have to let us help like that. So to those who are willing to allow other people to come in and care for them, to join with them, to talk with them, to share their lives with them, to share some of the resources that we have with them, they're the ones who get the right on. Not us who went, because frankly, we're benefited all the more. I mean, I know they get a house and their children get to be not sick, but I'll tell you what, the life change that happens in those of us who are able to work on behalf of these indigenous folks who have nothing in the world and are willing to say with tears in their eyes, we're grateful and thank you for helping us, when they really have every right in the world in which they could be hurt, in which they could be the victim, in which they could be embittered, and they're not. Right under those people. So anybody who is rising above that which has been done wrong to you, to be gracious to those who now want to change their ways, to those who open up the path to forgiveness, to those who open up the path to new beginnings, to those who open up the path to a new way forward, they're the ones who get the right on from Doug Pagitt Radio.
Yeah.
Sweet little people in this fantastic little town doing really, really big things. Right on. May your strength bring us strength. May your faith bring us faith. May your hope bring us hope. And may your love bring us love. To anybody who finds themselves on the receiving side and they're able to offer themselves to another so that they could be the one to receive, you do a great gift to all of us. So thank you, and right on from Doug Pagitt Radio. We'll be back again with you next week. Religious radio that's not quite right in a world in which sometimes there's some things that are right on. Talk to you next week.